Hello, everyone. Welcome to this AWS on air session, which is our getting ready for reInvent session. We've just heard from some of our leadership and some of our other team members. And now this is a customer spotlight session with a partner, Nvidia. My name is Shruti Koparkar, and I am your host for today. I lead the product marketing team for Amazon EC2 Accelerated Computing. And joining me is Spence and Damon. And maybe the two of you can introduce yourselves. Damon, maybe you go first.
Sure. Yeah, I'm Damon Oberoi. I am a partner manager for the Inception program at NVIDIA, and I get to work with great partners like Lilt and other startups in the space of business productivity apps, among other verticals that I work with.
And I'm Spence Green. I'm the CEO at Lilt. We build an enterprise AI solution for global content creation and translation that's used by Global 2000 enterprises when they're going to market in other countries.
Awesome. So welcome, both of you. Now, Spence, tell us a little more about Lilt. How did it get started? Where did you get the idea from? And how far have you come from where you started and what the platform does today?
Yeah, well, I'll tell you a little bit about where the idea for the company came from, and I'll go all the way back, which is I was living in the Middle East about 15 years ago, and in that part of the world, people don't have the same access to information that you and I do. And so I got very interested in languages in the developing world, and around that time, Google Translate came out. Which I think you could say was the first real commercial generative AI system. It truly was a generative system. You could translate things that had never been, you could generate translations that had never existed before. So I got really excited about that and left my job, went to grad school at Stanford and started working on AI approaches to translation. And a few years into that, I was working on Translate for my now co-founder, John De Niro. And what we got interested in was these AI systems were used for lots of consumer applications. You don't walk around in the world with a Lonely Planet phrase book anymore. You use your phone, but they weren't used very much in the enterprise. So products and services are a big part of using the internet. And we wanted to use AI to enable businesses to make their entire presence available to everyone in every language, which is really like personalization, like the most human form of personalization. And so that turned into a research project at Stanford on building human in the loop systems, which we then commercialized and have grown from there.
That's really great. You talked about sort of developing AI applications for the enterprise. Do you have any thoughts on what are some of those unique challenges there when you are developing these systems to be deployed across enterprises?
I think the first, probably, which held back the first wave of AI startups is the models have to be very use case specific. So you have to fine tune them to the business use case that they're being used on, whether that's support or marketing or legal. And our innovation was to build self-learning systems because translation and content creation is this interesting use case where you generate something and then people respond to it. And you can use that human feedback to then train the system. Now, you've got to set the system up so that it can train in real time, but you get a natural data feedback loop in these enterprise content workflows. So that's why we thought it was a really great application of using AI, whereas in sort of the first wave of AI startups, 6-7 years ago, you had to manually tune systems for specific business use cases, and that was just not scalable and very hard to do. I think where these large language models are so exciting is that they basically lower the barrier to specializing AI systems to business use cases because you can use in-context learning, which is just prompting. So I think the first one is specializing the systems to the AI use case or to the business use case. And the second is it's not just the model. So you can't just get an AI API and then go off and that's all you need to solve a business problem. There's an orchestration layer and an application layer that goes around the API, and that's the actual product that you have to build. And these products are, they're not just SaaS products. They're sort of deceptively hard to build if you're going to build around an AI system, not just have AI as sort of an add-on. I think adding AI onto existing systems as an additional feature is really great for some applications, but there's some business cases that can be fundamentally transformed by AI, and that changes the way you do product development.
That's really great. I have a few things that I would want to dig into there, but before we do that, it would be really great to just see your product in action. I know that our audience always loves seeing that. So maybe you can do a quick demo?
Yeah, I'd love to do that. And what I'll do is I'll show kind of a click-through demo that we use to orient people really quickly with how the product works. And then I'll go into a live demo and I'll show an example of a translation use case. And then I can show an example of a content generation use case. How about that?
Sounds good.
Okay. All right, so this is what the main interface of the application looks like. And what it's designed around is, in the enterprise, you have jobs that you want to do. You would like to translate a document versus putting a company confidential document into Google Translate, into like the web app. You would like to subtitle a video. You would like to dub a video for, maybe for training developers or for training employees. You would like to generate a new blog post in German for your go-to-market effort in Germany, or you would like to generate a response to a legal request in Japan, given existing body of contract knowledge, or you would like to connect a system to a workflow, so you can make, say, Figma. You can enable your designers to design in lots of different languages. So those are the three things that the app platform helps you do: translate things, create new things, and connect multilingual workflows, AI-enabled workflows, to systems. And so it gives you a complete set of building blocks for doing that. So what I can show you is, we'll go into one use case, which is translating a web page, which is what you do, the workflow that you set up to make a website multilingual. And then I'll go into content creation. So one thing that we're really excited about is we build our own AI systems from scratch, but we've also released integrations with other AI systems. So now, if you want to use Amazon Translate in ACT, or you want to use Amazon Bedrock and Titan, you want to use Nvidia Riva, we've got an integration coming out. We give you those integration points and all of the tooling that goes around them to build custom models with your data. This can still be deceptively hard for enterprises to do, is to just build custom data, even with the APIs and tooling that you get from like AWS. So we give you the application layer around the top that makes it really easy to do that. The other thing that we do, which I'll just show a connector workflow, we enable you to connect workflows to systems. So let's say that you're running a website on Adobe Experience Manager, or you're designing in Figma, or you're running a support site in Salesforce, or even you've got a huge corpus of data on Amazon S3. The platform will let you connect to these systems and hook a workflow up to it, an AI-enabled workflow to solve a business problem. So if we just look at how AEM works, let's say I want to translate a web page, and then that's the actual example we'll go into. I can select a verification workflow, which will then connect to AEM. It'll assign AI models to those workflows, run the content through the AI model, and then send it to a human reviewer for verification. So the way to think about this is, you basically have workflows where you want a human being, a human set of eyeballs, to look at it for quality control, brand control, factuality control, those sorts of business requirements. And you have other workflows where you don't necessarily have that requirement. And so the system lets you choose between those two types of workflows that you connect to systems. Okay?
That's great. Yeah, so it's configurable whether or not you want the human in the loop.
Correct. Exactly right.
Yeah.
So let's do a fun example. So here's Amazon Translate, which is AWS's system. And here it is available in in Arabic. And I'm an Arabic speaker, so I'll talk a little bit through how this works. Now, what our platform does is it connects to the content management system that hosts this website. And as new content is published into the content management system, it will pull it out, run it through that workflow I just showed you, and then push it back in. So what I'm going to show you is the human verification component, and I'm going to do that myself. So here we are in this is what a human would see. This is each string out of the web page, and this is a prediction out of the AI model. And so what Lilt allows you to do is this sort of sentence completion. So Amazon Translate is correct, but you see it doesn't know this word. So this is a general domain model that's not customized to Amazon Translate in any way. And what this phrase means in Arabic, it says literally artificial neural translation. But that's not what we call it in AI. We call it neural machine translation. Actually, maybe I want to capitalize this. So every time I enter a word, it adjusts its translation to what I'm doing. And the rest of that, oh, excuse me, did that incorrectly. Yeah, we want to do that. And we want to do AWS. So every time I hit Control Enter, you'll see this green check mark appear. And then it will actually do a model training step. So it'll do a full weight update, because this that I just created, that is a piece of training data that you train an AI system with. So now you see it gets neural translation service completely correct. And now indeed, this translation here is all completely correct. So I can just Control Enter the whole thing. So the way you can think about this is the system starts to learn, and it's doing more and more of the work. And the human verifier is just correcting little bits and pieces and teaching it as you go. And if we kind of search for this.
So did you say the model will be retrained with every correction that you provide?
Correct. And it's the only such system of its type that does that.
Yeah, I mean, this is really cool, just in and of itself. But I can only imagine what a sort of great engineering challenge this is, right, under the hood of sort of making this all work in real time. And
yeah, it's been, we have an amazing team at Lilt, and we've been building these systems for a long time. And I think what's exciting about translation, like I said, Google Translate was I think you could argue the first sort of commercial generative system. And indeed, the transformer architecture that these large language models have come from, that was fundamentally a translation paper. And so I think the subset of people who work on translation in AI have had an enormous impact in terms of the contribution to progress in AI. And we've got some great people on our team who are part of that group.
That's great. Tell us about oh, go ahead, Damon. Sorry.
Yeah, I was just going to say this. The same thing caught my attention. I'm wondering if you can briefly tell us a little bit about the technology or the platforms or the approaches that enable you to be able to get such quick results and accurate results.
Yeah, so the underlying architecture, it's a transformer architecture, and it's built, last year we released a new version of our system, well, actually earlier this year, so it was in March, and we've got another release coming in December, where we switched from a bespoke implementation on TensorFlow to Nvidia Nemo. And so the new architecture is, it's a more compact model for cost efficiency and inference latency reasons than a very large frontier scale large language model. But we switched to training on NVIDIA A100s, and we run inference on A100s as well. And one of the tricks to make it fast worldwide is to have inference running in multiple regions around the world, which that's where it comes really in handy to have a cloud partner like AWS, where we can deploy worldwide, because we have a low latency use case. You could see how fast it was responding to me typing, and we have to have that same latency worldwide.
That's awesome. So you said you were using the A100, so that's the P40 instances in Amazon EC2, and so true about worldwide availability. That's one of the things that our global infrastructure team focuses on. Anything else to add in terms of the other NVIDIA or AWS services that have helped enable this sort of performance?
Well, like I mentioned, we've got last month we released an integration with Amazon Translate and Amazon Custom Translation, along with Amazon Bedrock. And then behind Bedrock, you can get Titan or Claude 2. So we enable developers and enterprise users to use those models and customize them with their own data and use them in the types of workflows that I just mentioned. And then we've got a forthcoming integration with NVIDIA Riva for those open source models that NVIDIA is deploying in its inference service. Will enable users and developers either through this interface that I'm showing you or through our very robust API to be able to train and control those models too.
Yeah, that's great. I would love to keep looking at this demo, but I think we have to keep moving on. One other thing that I was curious about is, I see that Damon here is on the Inception team, and so I guess that you guys, that's how maybe you met. And so Damon, would really love to hear about, what is Inception. I think the audience could benefit from it too. And I know that the AWS Activate program works very closely with Inception. So just if you can talk about that, that would be helpful.
Yeah, sure. So Inception is our startup partnerships program. And startup is a very, let's call it loose term at NVIDIA. Really, we're looking for companies that are less than 10 years old and privately held, and certainly, obviously, in a tech startup space. And so Inception really offers our partners like Lilt the opportunity to have these types of engagements, marketing engagements like this. It can be invitation to events. It can be support, as you mentioned already, with AWS Activate credits. So through Inception, our partners can get up to $100,000 in AWS Activate credits at this time. So that's a real benefit to folks. There are GPU discounts, hardware discounts, all sorts of PR and marketing and customer introductions are even possible. So it's really the full pipeline of things that we offer to Inception members. And I'll turn it over to Spence to elaborate more on what has happened with Lilt thus far, and there's still more in the works. But Lilt has been an Inception member actually since 2018. So they're one of our older members in that sense. And I'll turn it over to Spence to talk more about it.
Yeah, I don't think the screen is sharing anymore, but I saw that, you in the no more time than the 30 seconds or 1 minute that Damon took, you had a German page or a German translation up already. That's pretty cool.
Yeah. Just while Damon was talking, I was generating a blog post in German using data from one of our customers, ASICs. So that's the other kind of creation capability that I mentioned. Yeah, the Inception program's been great. I think we joined in 2018. We were already training systems, obviously on NVIDIA hardware. Then there wasn't the level of higher level machine learning framework like NeMo that we have now. But it's certainly been advantageous to us in terms of customer introduction. We've done some activities like this together. But most importantly, one of the first things that we did was present at GTC, which we did in 2019. And as a direct response from that, there was an investor sitting in the audience who turned around and led our Series B. So I would like to thank NVIDIA for giving us that opportunity. That had a big impact on our company. And then we're really excited about being at the pavilion at reInvent in Las Vegas next month.
That is such a great story. You go to these events and you speak and you attend them, and it's really nice to know firsthand that someone benefits from them in such a big way. So yes, just for the audience, in case you didn't quite catch that, Lilt and will be at the AWS Gen AI Pavilion at reInvent, which is coming soon. This will be the week after Thanksgiving in Vegas. And so do visit them, their kiosk, check out their technology. I'm sure you will have a lot to learn as well. Okay, so I think that's it for today. Thank you so much for joining. And thank you to the audience as well for tuning in.
Thank you.
Thanks, Shruti.